when you don't feel like doing them, and you actually have success from doing them. When you've actually trained yourself to move past your natural predilection to only, work at a high level when you feel like it, or only work period when you feel like it, once you've pushed past that, then you realize your untapped potential.
That's right. And, you stop having your emotions run the show.
Right.
And I think that that's really what you're talking about is business maturity. And I mean, I was thinking, what other humans operate based on how they feel today? It's like you can get away with that when you're a kid till you start to go to school, and then you have to follow the rules a little bit. And then for a while in elementary school, it's easier because when the bell rings, you know that you've got to change from English to science class, and you get into the routine and you just do it. Somehow we get away from that as adults. And I think it's my suspicion is that it's kind of like an underlying craving for the freedom that we had as a kid, because we don't want to be told what to do, even if we're the ones telling ourselves to do something. It's almost like an inner rebellion. But there are ways around that. Simply, or maybe not so simply, doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the high level, but having the discipline to actually do it.
Well, so that's the juxtaposition to what most agents and frankly every humanity is telling people. It's like you follow your passion and the money will follow. Well, that's pretty much not true, because the problem is the feeling of passion is a fleeting emotion. And if you're just essentially only operating at a high level when you're following your passion, you're not going to be operating at a high level very often. That's the reason you really do have to adopt the mantra and really adopt the lifestyle of doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level.
You get better results.
You do. More consistent.
Well, use the example of working out, right? So you do it virtually every day. Of course, you're going to get better results than doing it when you feel like it, which is virtually never. So in real estate, that translates to cash spurts versus cash flow. Cash flow is the result of actually doing what you don't want to do consistently.
Well, give them a real basic example. Lead follow-up, right?
Sure.
So when you are desperate and you need deals, you are the best lead follow-upper ever, right?
Exactly.
When you need money, when you're feeling a little bit under pressure or a lot under pressure, that's when you actually do your lead follow-up. Now, what if you actually did lead follow-up at that level all the time, even when you were flush with cash and closings?
That's called furiously fast lead follow-up, which we mention one way or another on virtually every podcast.
Well, so what if you did furiously fast lead follow-up every single day, no matter what your financial situation is? I'll tell you what would happen. You'd make a hell of a lot more money helping a hell of a lot more people. Consistently. And then you would essentially start accumulating, a lot of profit. And with that profit, you then would reinvest it and you could become rich where your money works for you. You no longer work for your money. But how do most people operate? They go to the gym when they gain 20 pounds.
That's right.
Right? They
work out really hard for like a day and a half, then they're sore, and then it's hard. So it's even harder to get back in the saddle.
And the folks that I always find is interesting are the people that join our coaching program. We show them how to be proactive lead generators. Mm-hmm. And they start being proactive lead generators, and they do it for 60 days or whatever, 90 days. And guess what? They take listings.
Yes.
They take listings, and they're making all this money, and then they stop. Mm-hmm. And so they essentially built all this positive momentum, and they just stopped. And then, they'll close their deals, they'll work their deals, they'll over-celebrate their successes. 2 or 3 more months of essentially a famine will pass. They'll burn through all their savings, and then 6 months from when they started, they're actually deciding to recommit again.
That's right.
And they're doing it all over again. That up and down and finances and levels of motivation cause you to actually never get anywhere. You stay constantly in a state of that's it. It's feast and famine. Mm-hmm. You have a lot of money, you don't have a lot of money. You have a lot of money, you don't. And then you get emotionally burned out. And as a result of that, you lose confidence in your ability to actually have a real business.
That's right. And that actually happens in a multitude of levels. The most obvious one is the newer agent that gets a couple deals in contract, feels like they get figured out. Then they figure out how to close them, and the next month they've got nothing. That's the obvious example. But we've had coaching clients before that get into this, and these are grizzled veterans. I mean, I've got a coaching client right now that has 115 pendings. That's a lot of deals.
First name?
Lance.
Oh, of course.
Okay, 115 pendings.
Yeah.
Now, they're running a big operation, obviously.
Yeah. But
it can happen at that level, too, where there's a big influx of something, and then we're managing it, and then, oh, God, I need to take a break. The key is it's okay to take a break now and then, but put a limit to it so that your, long weekend doesn't turn into being in a rut. And,
right.
Let's talk about that. That's what our points are about
right.
today.
So
what to do about it when it does happen.
Right. So what we want to do is we want to give you some mindset motivation points here. And with those, we're hoping you can move towards the idea that what you want is on the other side of, essentially the whole quote is basically, if you want never-ending, increasing levels of success in your business and personal life, I'm going to say it for like the 10th time today because it's that important. do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. And so let's say you're saying, okay, intellectually you understand what Tim and Julie are saying is correct here. Now what? Well, we're going to give you a little bit of a caffeine shot here with some of these 14 points that we wrote down. And the idea here is that if you think you're in some sort of deep emotional hole, we're going to give you the pieces and the parts to base and the ideas and the concepts and tell you actually what to do to pull yourself out and keep yourself out. So save these points and save this podcast so that when you are ever feeling like that again, and it normally happens when you are at this time of year, frankly, it normally happens when you're really, really busy, when you have these constant battling thoughts in your head, whether or not you're doing things right or whether you're spending enough time with your family